Well, good evening, everybody. And we're here to talk about Unikoin Gold, the UKG signal that just came out from Coin Trading Premium. So what we've got here is we've got a buy signal at 3,000 sats, which is actually almost exactly where we are right now. There were some targets that were given at 3,900, 4,800, 5,800, and 6,500. So what I did here, this is a fairly new coin to Bittrex. Um, and what we can see is, of course, we had the massive dump as we always see, usually when coins are listed on an exchange. And it looks like it bottomed out right here, about 2,700. Then it went through, a little bit of a wave, and it went through its, gradual trend back down to to kind of where we started. Just a couple things that I notice here is there was a lot of volume right here in the beginning, of course, when there was a lot of hype trying to make some profits and get some gains. Of course, that's nothing wrong with that. Went through a period of low volume, and then you can see we had several 4-hour blocks of just really decent volume and good volume. Right, this is the green volume. Um, I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit and get rid of this big pump. I'll call it a pump right here, and focus a little bit more on the current state of what we've got. A couple things that I've noticed, and you can see actually. Let me just back up here. I built a retracement based on the floor. I'll call it the floor down here at 2,700 ish, and the ceiling up here at basically 15,500, somewhere around there. So that was really our range from when it first got listed onto Bittrex. But now, if we're looking at a potential for some really decent gains here, we expect 200%, 300%. And if we're at 3,000, really what we're looking for is 6,000, 9,000 for us to really get really significant gains. But one of the things that you'll notice is the candle patterns. So I'm on a 4-hour chart. So some people will trade off of 15-minute, 30-minute charts, but I'm going to focus on this 4-hour chart. And there's a few indicators here that are really quite interesting. Obviously, we've got these points where we've got just lots of volume. But something that's important to know, just because that this volume is green and this volume is red, doesn't always mean that's a bad thing. It does tell a tale on whether the bulls won or the bears won. But the most important thing to note, let's just take a look at this candle right here. One of the things that you'll notice in this candle is the fact that it is a really small body, but it's got a huge wick on top. So what this means is in this 4-hour block, we started down here, right? We had a little bit of downward, but the majority is, trying to push the price up. Lots of upward movement, pushing the price up. When this happens, generally, it wears down the resistance because the people that are holding, that are wanting to make their gains, their sell orders are going through, and it's being bought up. And you can see these long wick patterns, over and over and over. There's another one, although it's a little smaller. Here's another one where we've got a little body on the bottom, and then we've got the tall wick. These are hammers that are upside down, the inverted hammers. Here's a big body, right? We had a lot of volume here, and you can see it just continuing to keep trying to push up, keeps trying to push up. And then if we go to the current state right now, you can see here's more where there's just a lot of push, trying to push it up. And you can see that there are also bears that are trying to push the price down, but it's just not happening. And you can see our floor again is right here at like 2,700. Right now we're trading at 3,051. Now, when I first decided to do this video, we were under 3,000. And with the targets the way that they are, basically we've got a range of 3,900 to 6,500 for your targets. What I will say, based on what I can see here, is we're going to see a lot of resistance at very specific levels. You're going to see a lot of resistance right here. You can see, let me just thin that out a little bit. What you can see is when we were going down, we had a lot of support here. When you break through a support, it turns into resistance, which is evidenced right here. And you can see these little points here where the wicks tried to go above there. You could tell there's some definite resistance at that level. So what I'm expecting is um, we're probably going to see this price increase, but I don't see it going above this 4,200 point. Now, potential that it could, but that 3,900 should be a no-brainer. There's no doubt that at some point here in the near future, that's going to hit 3,900. Now, your question might be, well, do I buy now? Do I wait? I've always said that you should always, not trade with emotion. You should, hang your emotion at the door and wait for the right moment to open your position, because if FOMO in, I hate using that term, but if you open your position as we're in a rise, then your potential for losses are greater than if you were to strategically enter a position on this. For me, if I were to take part in this, I would enter anywhere between 2,700 and 3,000. I'm not planning on partaking in it at any point in time here in the near future. If it were me personally, I would wait until this hits like 4,200 and goes above this specific level of resistance before I open my position. But if you're a gambler, there is potential that we're inside of this retracement window, where you could see some significant gains. So that's what I'll have to say about that. One more thing, and I promised I would keep this short, and so I'm gonna keep to that promise. Talk a little bit about incubation periods. This just got listed on Bittrex, just a few weeks ago, right? So we're talking about the very beginning of January, the end of December. So this hasn't been listed for a really long time on Bittrex. So talk a lot about incubation period. There is a very decent possibility that this coin is going to be trading in this channel for a long time. So just keep that in mind, that for this to go 3x, 4x, 5x, you're going to have to hold this for quite some time. If you really want those kinds of returns, you're going to want to hold it for like a month or two. A month or two in cryptocurrency is like eons. So my recommendation would be to take a small gain, whether that gain is, if it goes up to 4,200, that's a 40% gain based on an entry at 3,011. Um, but take your gains while you can, and then wait for the bump. Because it's going to go up, it's going to go down. My expectation is it's going to move around inside of that channel for a while before it actually decides to explode. So, and I use the term explode very loosely. Just be careful when you try and open a position. Make sure you enter at the best possible point. Be patient, and if the price happens to just completely skyrocket, if you get to a point where it happens to do a really big increase like that, my suggestion, just wait. Just wait, because if it's all the way up here, you're like, oh my goodness, I need to buy this, I'm going to miss out. Well, it's going to go down. And then usually what happens, because we're on a 4-hour chart, so we're talking like 16 hours later, it's just like continuing to go down and go down. People get discouraged. Then they sell at a loss. Well, what just happened? It's going to go back up. If you would have just waited, you could have purchased down here at the floor rather than purchasing at this mid-tier ceiling, and then you would be able to actually ride it back up. So don't trade with emotion. Find a good entry point, and my suggestion: get it as close to 2,700 as possible. 3,048 may still be a good entry point for this. I think that you're going to see a lot of movement in this range for probably a month before it actually really breaks through this point. Now, This can all be invalidated at any point in time. This could completely go sideways and then go south. Any of that is possible. But seeing that when this first got listed on Bittrex, this floor was right here around 2650 to 2700. I don't expect it to go much lower than that. So it could be a safe bet. Um, Last note is the volume is increasing a little bit. You'll notice that the volume was kind of dead for a while. The volume has increased, which could be a good sign for potential upside. If you take a look at the squeeze, what you'll notice is that it actually is in a squeeze, came out of a squeeze. Um, but what's going to really tell the tale is if this turns into the dark purple and starts to move up. If it starts to do that, then you could actually see the movement up to the 4200. With that, I'll let you go, and hope you enjoyed it. And I'll talk to you all inside of the in Discord. Have a good night.